Right now, you are missing a massive chunk of your own life. Think about your very first memory. Maybe it's blowing out 3 candles, a childhood dog, or the exact moment you tasted dirt. You were probably 3 or 4 years old. But what about the 1,000 days before that? You learned how to walk, how to speak,
Better subscribe to see me often.
and how to navigate a brand new planet, yet your brain completely wiped the footage. You were there, you lived it, but you have absolutely zero proof. Where did those years go? So, it gets weirder. We know babies can remember things in the moment. A 6-month-old knows their mother's face, recognizes a favorite blanket, and remembers exactly how to shake a plastic rattle to make an annoying noise. They are absorbing information faster than a college student on 4 cups of espresso. Yet, by the time they grow up, those memories vanish into thin air. It is like your brain spent 3 years painting a massive, beautiful masterpiece, only to immediately throw it into a campfire. We used to think babies just had weak, useless brains. For decades, scientists assumed an infant's mind was simply too fragile to lock down long-term memories. It makes sense. Babies cannot even hold their own heads up, so expecting them to build a permanent autobiography feels a bit unfair. But then, researchers noticed something strange.
When scientists looked closer, they found that babies are not failing to store memories. They are actively destroying them. Your brain did not forget being a baby because it was weak. It forgot because it was working way too hard.
How? Well,
Imagine your mind is a dense, wild forest. To remember your life, you need to walk through the woods and stomp down a clear, permanent dirt path. That path is a memory. Easy enough. But inside a baby's head, the trees are growing at a terrifying sci-fi speed. This frantic explosion of new brain cells is called neurogenesis. Don't worry about the big word. It just means your brain is crowded, chaotic, and building new stuff at a frantic pace.
and what is the problem with a brain that changes every single second? The new trees sprout so fast that they physically rip up the old dirt paths. The roots of the new brain cells accidentally bulldoze the very paths you just walked on. Your earliest childhood experiences did not just fade away, they were aggressively overwritten by your own physical growth. You literally grew too fast to remember who you were. But wait, it gets even more complicated. There is another reason you cannot remember your toddler years, and it has to do with how you are talking to yourself right now. Think about how you remember yesterday. You think in words. I went to the kitchen, made some toast, and spilled the jam. You tell yourself a story. But a 1-year-old does not have words. They experience the world as a chaotic soup of pure emotion, bright colors, loud textures, and sudden smells. Once you learn to speak, your brain entirely changes the way it takes notes. It switches from tracking raw feelings to tracking words.
For example, during the pre-verbal period, the toddler perceives the fallen red cup and the juice spilled as red blur, sudden loud crash, and sharp fear. But once they learn to speak, the verbal memory starts recalling the event based on a story. So now our little girl who has learned to speak will say, "The red cup fell and spilled the juice on me."
But this reveals an even bigger mystery. If those early years are truly wiped clean from our conscious minds, why do they still define us? A child who faces neglect or profound love in their first 2 years will carry those emotional echoes for the rest of their life. They won't remember the events, but their personality, their anxieties, and their capacity to trust will be permanently shaped by them. The real question isn't why we can't remember being babies. It is how something we can't remember can still completely dictate who we are today.
So raise your kids right, folks. You never know when they are going to turn up against you.
Now hit that subscribe button and forget you ever watched this video.